Hello, everyone. Kelsey Komorowski here, founder of Como. I am so thrilled to be on tonight with Dillon. He is one of our Rockstar students. I met Dillon last year. And the story that Dillon is going to share with you today is pretty incredible. It's blown me away, and I know that it will resonate in a very big way with a lot of you parents, and especially with a lot of our teenagers. Dillon, thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And Dillon, actually, I'm gonna pretty much pass it right over to you. If you can just share with us a bit about your background with school, where you're at right now, just in terms of your grade, and then what grades 7, 8, 9, and leading up to where you're at right now, just what those were like for you. If you can give us some background on that.
Okay. Well, right now I am in grade 10 for the second time. I failed the first time. And my grades are averaging I'd say about a B plus right now. Before they were averaging about maybe a C minus if I was lucky. Um, High school or like public high school and the system, how it was set up, especially here, just did not work for me. And I had nothing but issues really going through it from grade eight, well, really the whole school program, but especially grade 8 to 10 was really rough. And so would you like me to start off with grade 8?
Yeah, Dylan, that'd be great. You mentioned, I think, two things in particular with respect to, the school system, the way it was set up not working, and that, yeah, there were some issues. It was rough. Whatever you're comfortable to share on both of those things would be great.
Okay, so um first off, going into high school was not a good um good place to be in. I wasn't. I had one friend, and seriously one, and he was uh not making some of the best decisions, and he was getting into um drug use and stuff like that, and kind of just left. So I, for a while, literally just sat around in the halls by myself listening to music. Music wasn't still as like, in a way, like my savior. I listened to probably at least 3 hours a day. But in grade 8, I had no friends because of rumors that started in grade 7 that were false. But still, um, so then I was also bullied, which honestly I was used to. But I mean, I still didn't enjoy it. And I hated going to school, and the teachers didn't help. They often would put me down, complain about this or that. I had one particular teacher, no names, but his son was the one who started most of the bad rumors about me that again were false. So I did not like his son. And one day admittedly I made the wrong decision and I snapped. And I lashed out on at him, and so his dad did not like me. And I ended up in his English class, and he pretty much admitted to trying to like get me to fail. The one situation that really stood out for me was um these essay assignments, and I was really sick for probably about 2 weeks. And in 2 nights, while still being sick, I managed to do two of the like largest essays I have ever done in my life till this day. And I did two of them, and they're both the same size. And in big bold letters at the top, it says to write small. And I have some troubles with writing. My hand gets really cramped up, so sometimes writing smaller is even worse. So I pretty much didn't sleep for about 48 hours getting these done, and I was so happy I handed them in. I failed both of them for writing too small.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the moment that I gave up on school.
And Dylan,
I
what
hadn't enjoyed it. Um, and that was kind of the tipping point where I was like, I'm done. I'm done trying. I'm done caring about this. And I did. I stopped really caring.
and Dylan, when you say, first of all, that's awful. Like that for that whole situation to unfold in that way is it should never have happened. I don't need to tell you that. I'm sure you know that. But when when you say you gave up, what does that mean exactly? Because you know a lot of students feel like they're sick of it, they're done. What did that look like for you? You know, when you were like, I'm over it.
For me, for me, it was a full like mentality switch. I hated school, but I at least tried. I tried to um tried to succeed and tried to, even though I felt dumb, I tried to do my best, and that I didn't anymore. I started, being purposely late, like I'm talking 30 minutes in an hour class late. I even, I tried skipping class. I didn't enjoy it, and I even so I didn't. But like I was purposely late, and I um purposely got myself was suspended one day. Um where I pretty much got punched in the face and then tried to advertise it as a fight. And um well, I didn't, but it happened and I went along with it. So um I just completely gave up on the idea of graduating or the idea that I had a purpose there. Um and um yeah, even in life, like I started becoming a little like much more negative. Um and I was already going through, hard times, lack of friends, and self-esteem issues since like grade three. And this was kind of just a tipping point for me that I was like, I don't care about school. I don't care about grades. I don't care about all the people here. Um, I started taking like even my kind of image farther. So I don't know about like where you live or where other people live, but here, for both female and male, tight clothing is really in, like tight khakis and like small shirts and stuff are in. So I could fit a medium, and I wore a triple XL for pants and short and shirts. I had to wear a belt for my pants just so I could hold them up, but my shirt more than covered it, because just trying to be as, I guess, far away from what was popular, because I was already, you know, treated poorly, and I was already kind of like scum. So I just took that image and ran with it. Um, and even to a degree, how I spoke was mild, not much, but it was mildly changed. But yeah, a lot of stuff happened. That was a big moment. I was already kind of like wearing baggy stuff, but that was a moment where it just, I don't know, in a weird way, it helped me kind of be who I am today. But I still, look back and resent that situation.
Well, yeah. I mean, Dylan, and there's it seems like there were two things going on, and you'll tell me if I'm hearing right. Like on the one hand, there was the skipping classes, getting suspended, just like you used the word lash out, which I think is such interesting language because it's not like you were, wanting to, and I don't know, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but it sounds a bit like, was it a bit of self-sabotage? And then that's different though than, formulating or gravitating towards an appearance that helped you feel better. Like, would you say those two things were separate
Um,
or kind of similar?
I, in a way, I kind of leaned and became more so like what people already thought of me, and I kind of like doubled down on that image of like, um, like, you know, this system sucks, like I hate it here, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, like that kind of, and just going for like the least popular, kind of idea that I could. And that was kind of just going on with my mental state. But I feel like um my giving up completely on school kind of tipped tipped it over, because I was already not in a good place, and then just this like I just the double of like, okay, I really don't want to be here, just completely doubled it, and that was the rest of grade 8 for me. And I started, um you know uh I guess I'm gonna be really honest. I started getting into smoking marijuana, and um yeah, and that really, I don't know, in a weird way, like, I don't want to say help, because it's not like supposed to be like, oh, it's a good thing, but it kind of say I am like, you want me to be this, well, guess what, I can do that, see how much you like it. And so I was constantly trying to antagonize and just bug the popular kids as well, kind of just bug them back. And in a way, like, kind of just, that's kind of what it was though. It was kind of like, okay, this is what you like seem to think I am. How about I actually, be really get into doing that and see how much you like it? And they didn't.
Mm.
um I started, retaliating with some of the bullying. What I got, um just situations like, I'd get pushed in the locker, and before I just kind of like walk away. This time, I got pushed in the locker, and I took the guy's knee out and like pretty much got him trampled. Because anyone who's seen high school hallways, they know that it is chaotic. And grade 8 was a really weird year. I don't know, it helped me realize who I was in a way, because I still, maybe not to the extreme of I was, but I still definitely embrace that, like, um I don't know, like, rebellious, like, not even that, like, kind of like, um attitude of like, okay, if you don't like me, I don't care. um I don't, I've never tried, I don't try to fit trends or anything. And I think in a way, as much as the situation sucked, it helped me became who I am today. And I think that's a good thing to remember, that, no matter how much something sucks, remember that situations or like our experiences help us become who we are. And some negative situations can actually become positive and help you, because um I'm happy kind of being that, like, um I don't know, outcast. That's a good, yeah, outcast, that's a perfect word. And I have more friends now, but I'm still, you know in that place of low popularity. And the difference is that now it doesn't bug me. I'm not like, before I was upset, I was like, I have no friends, this sucks. Now I'm like, I have a few friends. And even back then when I had a few, it was like, this still sucks. But now I'm like, I have a few friends, that's all I need. I'm good. But and I think that was a big transition. And um yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd go back and change anything, because I don't know how that could affect me today.
Dillon, I want to pause there and highlight that. I think what you shared is truly invaluable, especially for other people who might be in a place of struggle or pain right now, where it's really hard to see past your pain sometimes and to see past the struggle sometimes. But that perspective of this is okay, this is temporary, and knowing, like what you just shared, there's going to be something that good that comes out of this. And Dillon, if you can tell us, because essentially for right now, we've heard, grade 8 and into grade 9, pretty dark. some bullying, some, lots of different things going on. And then we know, because you shared at the outset, you failed grade 10. What did that transition look like essentially into grade 10? How did the fail happen? And then what happened after
Uh,
that?
for 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 talking about grade 10, for any like just for context, I honestly think I need to talk a little bit more. What I said was pretty much just like grade 8, like the start of grade 8 to the end of the grade 8. Grade 9 was another challenging but very different year. And would you like me to talk about it? I have no issue doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, please do, Dillon. Thank you.
So, funny enough, in that same English class that I hated, um, I met someone who I became friends with. And, that was a pretty big deal, especially considering I didn't have many. I think at that point, by the end of grade 8, I might have had like 3 friends. Um, and by grade 9, she was no longer my friend, but she was my girlfriend. And with that, I made a kind of a deal. Like I would try to, give school a second chance, and I hated it still, but I tried giving it a second chance. And I went through that year, and things were doing pretty well. And I passed the first semester, and then the second semester started. And a few weeks into that, it was good until um this I don't know, I hate saying this because I don't want it to be like a sob story, but until my girlfriend cheated on me with one of my better friends. That's really the only way to explain it. And after that, again, I feel so bad because I don't want like people to feel bad for me or be like, man, my life's so hard, da 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 da, poor me. But after that, I was crushed, and I started some of my bad habits again, including, you know, showing up late, worse this time. And I started smoking again, but again, more and worse. Um, I, um, yeah, this is really dark. This is true. I began self-harm, something else I'm very not proud of, but that's what happened. And I just remember like a perfect example of it was just me sitting in socials every day, and I had some people who I was starting to become kind of friends with in there, and I stopped talking to them. I literally just get into class and have my head between my arms the entire class, and that was pretty much every class. Between pretty much every class, I'd have a mental breakdown. I hated it there. It was just a reminder. And the absolute worst part is in social or in science, we couldn't move seats. And of course, I was right beside my ex, who, and had to sit there. So that class, I know this, it felt like trying to hold your breath under lava for an hour and a half. And that was probably that like time frame was one of the worst periods in my life. Like um I also stopped working out, and um even like, and it wasn't even like, oh, okay, so I became fat. No, I stopped really having motivation to do anything. So I actually became, um, especially on my arms, like quite thin and like for muscle, and I was skinnier than before, but I was I was not healthy. I didn't feel good, and like you could even like I even have some pictures of me back then, and I was always wearing long sleeve shirts or hoodies, so that nobody saw. And you could my like all my around my eye, it looked like I got punched in the face, almost like because I wasn't sleeping. And I I'm gonna say pretty much, but no, I was high like 24/7. And like I'd get home and just kind of crawl into my room and if somebody called me, I wouldn't answer. I'd just kind of look at the um phone and just kind of ignore it. And I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live. And that was probably the hardest time of my life. Just I didn't want to do anything, and um trying to put on this thing of that I was happy was exhausting. And I didn't want to bother anyone because I didn't feel like I was worth anyone's time. And that was kind of the summer. Um, near the end, there was some better moments but mostly that was it. And then grade 10 started, and I was a little bit better, but I wasn't much better. And yeah, uh, starting grade 10, I was only told about how, once you get to grade 10, it matters really a lot more, and the work gets harder and stuff. And I can tell you in my math class for an entire, like half a year, I probably did one question. Um, Again, like I couldn't show up to classes sober, and that wasn't helping. And my grades were just awful in almost every class. The only class that I was doing well in was one of my, I can't remember the name of it. I wish I could, but it has a bunch of different things, but one of it was poetry. Um, and that's where I excelled, because even when I was really down and stuff, that's the only thing that I had motivation to do was write poetry or music. And that's what I did, and I became really good at it. And so that was the only class that I did well in. PE, I was always really good in PE, but not because I was actually good at sports. I was just always putting 100% effort. But even in that class, my grades went down because just putting in that effort became harder and harder to do. Even in anything that was like the most exciting part of my days normally. And I started to make a good chunk of friends, but then I left. I couldn't do it. After years, we finally had a professional come up and look at how I was doing and kind of do a test with me, and found out my writing issues. I just needed a thicker pen or pencil. That was it for writing. And said to my mom, I should get taken out of the school. And I was, weirdly enough, I was hesitant at first because I was just starting to make, a good group of friends, and I continued to. And it sounds awesome. The only like big issue is my probably who became one of my, if not my best friend at the time, definitely did not help me with my my marijuana issue that I was having. And then he got more into it right around the time that I was kind of like, I don't think I should do this anymore. Like, and I was starting to get like, see some light at the end of the tunnel, and things were starting to get a bit better for me. But even in school, I went on a different online program than I'm currently on. I'm really enjoying the one I'm on right now. But the one that I was on before was like completely do it. Like they barely even had instructions. They just kind of gave you the assignment and said, do it. They didn't give you any instructions. It was completely like figure it out by yourself. So I almost did like almost accomplished enough, like absolutely nothing. So I switched, and um like, that was the rest of grade 10, and grade 10 the first time, I guess. And then grade time number 2 started, and right around then, um I started having issues with um my other friend, the one who was, smoking weed a lot, and his sister, who was, what, it's all personal stuff, but very involved in like drama and stuff, just not stuff I like. And my true best friend, like definitely number one best friend that I've had since I was in grade 4, one of the best, human beings I've met, like he's really like a brother to me, and still is. There's no sad ending to that one. But he actually started um dating a girl, and her and I actually became really close friends, and everything was good. But then, just, I don't know, I guess the difference was on drama, and just, I guess, life kind of came in the way, and they had a falling out, and I kind of had to do something I don't like to do and take sides. And I knew which one I agreed with, so I went with that one, and lost the other friend. And so that was about, by doing that, I lost about 5 other friends, and I don't regret that. And but it was just another thing of like, I felt like I couldn't, and I still kind of worry about this. I feel like I can't keep friends, because like, even even a friend that I had since grade 5, I don't anymore. And but I think the important thing is, even though it can easily feel like it's your fault, actually think about the situations. Don't just think about, well, it keeps happening to me. Think about the actual situations and think, okay, logically, it was this my fault. Like, and I think that's kind of what has given me like hope that I'm not just this absolute horrible person. And um I feel like my life was getting better. Like, personally, I had, 2 friends. I had 2 friends, but they were they were 2 months, and I had no issue with that. Like I said earlier, like, I learned to be okay with, like, I don't need a bunch. Like, I am happy with, the friends that I do have. And um that's kind of how it is till this day. But school wasn't improving. Um, I was too scarred from school, and I couldn't do it again by myself. I couldn't, um, couldn't go back, or couldn't get in a mindset that I was able to succeed. And then one day, um, my mom tells me about Como, and um, I, I, no offense, but to be honest, I rolled my eyes, right?
None taken.
Because because I was kind of like, oh, great, more people to tell me that, school's awesome, and that I'm just being a horrible human being, pretty much. Like my principal did, like, everything else. And but that's not what happened. I was really, um I don't know, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I can give it a shot, right? Because I want to give him a shot. And ever since then, I've experienced nothing but positive from being part of Como's program. And I've worked with, not all, but several of the people involved, and have had, nothing but pleasant exchanges with them. And my grades have shot up, just having a better growth mindset, and a better time Um, I guess moving on, because I feel like now I actually have people who can, really know what they're, doing and are professionals and actually care about my success, not just the paycheck at the end of the day.
Wow. Dylan, so first off, I have quite a few follow-up questions, but I just want to address something you mentioned earlier. I know I've only known you for a few months, but I can say with absolute certainty, and I know Nicole, if she were here, would agree, you are a wonderful human down to your core. Like Dylan, there is no doubt. Friends come and go for all of us. And to your point before, it can feel hard and painful and make us doubt things, but long game, that happens and you are wonderful. Okay? Just take that, keep
I
that, do with it what
appreciate
you
that.
will. It's true. So, Dylan, this is a
Yeah, I'm trying
pretty
to learn that myself. It's tough.
yeah, it's you know what? I think a lot of teenagers and a lot of adults, I would wager, are still figuring that out.
I
So Dylan, I
but
have to
I'd like to say that I no longer self-harm. I know for quite a while actually. I no longer um blame myself for what happened with my ex. I no longer am in that dark place. Just to clarify the story,
yeah, that's
but
that's
I
huge.
still do have self-confidence issues, and I'm working on that. And um, that's just, it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it really does allude to skill building, building out that confidence is such a process. So Dylan, a couple things, I guess first and foremost, the if we can kind of home in on, one or two things for you that made a real difference from being in this I hate school. And I remember even our first conversation, you told me with so much passion that you hated school and you weren't going to do it. For you, what was kind of the key ingredient or two to have a shift where, it's not always, bells and whistles and amazing, but you're doing it, you have a more positive attitude. Like what was the big thing for you that was helpful in that
Um,
transition?
Again, and I want to start this off. I love my mom. She's amazing. She helped me a lot. But having people who are, in a way like connected to the, school programs, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of having like someone, having not even someone, having like this, group of people that I feel like actually have my best interests. And and secondly, the environment. I still have issues going back to that, like to visit friends or whatever, or whatever I have, whatever reason I'm there. I actually still have troubles going there. I get really like anxious and like just I don't know, I very uncomfortable. So I mean, I guess that shows you how much I don't like it. I've been out of that public school for like almost 2 years now. Maybe like a year and a half and a bit, but almost 2 years. And I still have issues going there. So I think the environment was a big deal, and having some extra support was a big deal.
Mhm.
Um, and just little things around the way, like um, when you're struggling with self-esteem and you just like you look in the mirror and you're like, why do you exist? Or like why am I here? Like what is wrong with me? Any of those things you're feeling, or like, I would say that everyone even has those days, but for some people, like it was for me, and I still struggle with it. It was like it was just constantly like I suck, pretty much. But there's little things that, you know, build up and slowly, help your self-confidence a little bit. Like, um, I don't think there's anything, or if there is, that's awesome. If there's something that just happens, you're like, okay, I love myself. But I haven't seen anything that's just instantly like that. But little things building up helps. I don't mean to want to ramble or anything, but can I share one of the big things that was for me?
I was just going to ask if you wouldn't mind sharing an
Oh,
example.
so this one was interesting. So, um, I was bullied a lot for weirdly um my music taste and my race, which is still weird to me. Um and I was constantly like um just bunch of different stuff related to like um even just stuff as silly as like, oh, you're an Eminem wannabe. I'm like, I whatever. And but one day, a group of popular people in my school who I know didn't like me, and the feeling was mutual. They called me over, and um, I can still see myself in these baggy gray sweats and this like gray sweater with like my white t-shirt poking out from it. And I walked over and they laughed and they said something like, I can't remember what they said. They're like, I think they just said it like rap for us. And I was like, what? They're like, rap. I'm like, why? They're like, we want to hear it. So I was like, so I actually opened my phone and as I like to say, I spit them a verse of mine. Actually, I think two. And they kind of went quiet afterwards. I was like what? Right? I was, I instantly was like, what? Like defensive, like what? And they were surprised apparently because they thought it was good. And I thought I went back to my desk laughing because I was like, um, just kind of something that was, a moment for me, like where I felt kind of cocky, kind of like, yeah, I showed them what's up. Like I'm dope. You know what I mean? Like I know that's so dumb. Like it was seriously, that's what it was for me. It was like, I
I love that. And that's such a show of like showing that authentic, this is who I am. And I love it. It's just like, I'm dope. That's what's up. And that was a moment of good feelings for you, is what I'm hearing.
yeah. It's weird because like I even my mom and I have talked like about this before, but one of the things we laugh about is um being born in I was born in 2003. But we laugh because I had like what I like to call a 90s childhood still, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like um or even like early 2000s. Like one of my favorite shows I remember watching as a kid was The Fresh Prince with Will Smith. And like I yeah, that song just, I remember that. And that's kind of, I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was like, oh, he's an actor. Oh, but he also raps. And I was like, okay, cool. And then my um people wouldn't know this, but I actually have a quite heavy like Christian background with my grandparents and my mom. And growing up, went to church and stuff. No longer do, but that's just for more area reasons than anything. The nearest is like over half an hour away, so
Mhm.
yeah. And but my sister, who is 10 years older than me, I get emotional talking about her sometimes just because like as a kid, like she would get in trouble or something, and like 5-year-old me, like little me with a list would come over and be like, don't yell at her. And I just get so defensive against my mom whenever she yelled at her. But like if mom yelled at me, I'd be upset, but like I wouldn't really try to like do that same kind of but with my sister, it wasn't. She listened to a um rapper named Manifest, and he was technically a Christian rapper because he was Christian and didn't swear, but he wasn't like he didn't his lyrics weren't really all about like it wasn't gospel music or anything. And there were some mentions of God, just again because that's his religion, but it wasn't like preaching music. And it was like, maybe twice an album or whatever. And I started listening to it too. And then one in grade 5, and this is another thing, is I was a shy kid. I still have some of those things, but like I was shy. I remember, don't make fun of me, but like I was in like grade 4 or 5, and I went up to my crush. I was like, I'm Dillon, you're pretty, and that's all I said. Like I was shy. I could barely speak. Like I wouldn't be doing this. I couldn't call somebody. I could
Well,
not call my friend. I was too nervous to call people.
Dylan, I have a question about that
Like
because
I
earlier,
was
oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I earlier before we started recording, you had mentioned this was the first time speaking in public, or sorry, it was just a year ago, the first time you spoke in public. Can you share a bit about that?
yeah, I did. That rap was the first time I really had like a public speaking.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it, Dylan. Okay. Amazing. I have just a couple of questions for you, if that's okay with you. I know we actually have our call coming up soon, but if you have a couple more minutes, then I just have two more questions or so.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so Dylan, first of all, thank you for sharing that trajectory. Like I love, and even when I was like, no, tell us about grade 10, you're like, there's context here. So thank you very much for kind of anchoring. I feel like you really vividly
Yeah,
illustrated your
that's fun.
journey. Yeah. So just really thank you for that detail and for that level of openness. I think what you shared, I know it will resonate with a lot of students who probably, would not share
Yeah.
necessarily what they're going through. So
Just
just, your openness is
find find you. Find who you are. Like whatever it means is like I found it through a piece of actually I don't even know what they're made of. I found it through a CD is what how I really started becoming more myself. So I mean, whatever works for you, find yourself. If you think it's silly or if someone else does, I mean, just don't listen. Like I found it through a guy through an album with a man dumping his wife into the lake. So
are we on Eminem?
yeah, the Slim Shady LP. That's just the whole like attitude kind of has resonated with me and helped with my shyness because unless if I'm like really close to someone, I don't really care what people think of me.
Mm.
Um so that's kind of where that came from. So yeah, find who you are. Um and not by any means necessary, but like um never think that you are like how you're finding yourself is dumb.
Mm. Dylan, that's such a gem piece of advice. And I'm going to come back for my final question to ask one more follow up on that. But I'm curious because
Okay.
I know that, we have a lot of parents who are going to be, tuning into this too. And like Dylan, from what you shared, just going through those challenges, dark times, hard times, like really, really hard. What, you know, what what do you think, like, what were the adults in your life doing? Why didn't it work? And what do you think, what advice would you share essentially for parents with kids going through something similar or going through a really hard time?
My advice is probably something they don't want to hear. But one, um, if if your kid is this, obviously everyone's different, but let's say your kid is going through the same thing and whatever music helps them. No matter what your pin on it, your kids hearing swear words is gonna happen. I guarantee if they're in high school, they probably swear, and if they don't, they hear it all the time from other kids. I guarantee it, unless if they're at some like full on um like religious school, and then even then, I pretty sure they're gonna hear it. And even if you're like, well, they won't. Well, I think their mental health is probably more important. And also, if they're not gonna tell you, um they're not going to tell you like you can push a little bit, but if you push too much, it's actually going to make them like get annoyed. Like if you're just constantly like all the time, like what's wrong? Like what's wrong? Like tell me what's wrong. They're gonna not want to talk to you because they're like, okay, now I can't even talk to my like. And I was lucky enough I didn't actually go through this, but like I know people have, and I know there was a few times where I felt a little like, okay, you're pushing too hard, and it actually brings a level of resentment because they feel like every time that they are with you, they're going to be talked about how they're not doing well or how they seem sad, and if sometimes they want to get away from it. And I mean, sometimes you can even do silly things like if they don't tell you, just make tell them you love them, give them a hug, whatever, like whatever makes them happy. Like if for me, one of the times I was really sad, and I couldn't even I don't even from what I remember, I didn't even know why, but I was really upset for some reason. I was just having a weird day, and so my family went and watched Trailer Park Boys. Like like sometimes it doesn't have to be the greatest thing, but little things help. That's another big thing. And I mean, I don't really have any like huge parenting advice from a parent perspective. I do not have a kid, luckily. um I do not want one either currently. And but I can give it from the child perspective. And yeah, one thing I'll um won't compare like complain about is my mom. So uh yeah, I think I think that every family is different, but I feel like there's some kind of, basic thing of like I said, just don't push too hard. And if they won't tell you, just, let them know that they're loved.
Hmm. Dylan, that's fantastic advice from any perspective. Don't push too hard. Let them know that they're loved. And Dylan, as far as the advice, any advice that you would give for, your peers, essentially teenagers going through same thing, you already gave an incredible gem where it's like, hey, find yourself, have some fun with it. Don't worry about how you're
Yeah.
doing it.
You
Any
don't
other
have
pieces?
you don't have to be like everyone else. In fact, it's probably more fun not to be. I've learned that, especially through my experience and in general, having more friends, that's a lot of a chance that a lot of them are fake. Where if you have a few friends, they're probably most likely real because they're not with you for, popularity or any other reason. And I'm not saying like, oh, I have lots of friends, I should be worried. I'm just saying like, don't feel like you have to be, don't feel like you have to fit in, or that you have to, be a certain way or dress a certain way, or, do whatever. Like, um, and I know for everyone it's different because, sometimes people, might not be supportive. And I know I think I already brought it up a few times, but I'm gonna have to do. For me, my mom is always being like right there and always really supportive for me. And I know that's not the situation everywhere. Like sometimes there might be like some more rules, but like um I know I don't again, I don't have any actual experience, but personally, I feel like it helps, your children to be supportive of them, but like and a level of like strictness. You don't want to be, some like evil ruler, but you're not their friend either. You're not gonna, don't let them do absolutely whatever. But I think supporting your kids and whatever who they are, even if it's a phase, like um, right now I'm growing out my hair, and right now it's already dyed purple as I'm going through a bit of a punk phase. And um, it doesn't necessarily. That's another thing. Don't believe in stereotypes. That's a good one.
I love that. And Dylan, I'm just picturing purple hair right now. That's amazing. So Dylan, let me
Yeah,
just ask you two final questions here. Like with
a little
respect
faded,
to
but
parents supporting their kids. And of course, I think anyone listening to this, they want to be that parent who is there, who loves their kids, supports them, really
yeah.
encourages them to be their own. Dylan, what do you think? Because you'd mentioned before, a professional came in, you did get some help, you eventually accepted even our help, but there's a lot of students who don't want help. They think it makes them, look bad, or they're just not open to it. What do you, just again, in your experience, and I don't know, how much you can shed on this, but what is that? Is there a tipping point to accepting that help? What can people do to be open to changing their situation and getting help to do so?
um, I think that if you, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but I think if you really are that like, worried about what other people are gonna think, then there might be some other, and I was there. I'm not trying to judge, but there might be some other issues that you need to deal with first.
Dylan, that's
Because
not
yeah, school's important. School's important, but there's things that are more important, and yourself is one of them. Whoever you are, and yeah, I think if you're that worried about that, then there's some other issues that need to be dealt with first. And if you are there, hey, I've been there, stop, and uh, I wish you the best of working through that. But as far as like actually, I don't know, being a, I think some people, I think I was there, are afraid of level of success almost. Um, because sometimes if you succeed, you you have more pressure. But if you're really like straight up afraid to like get help, you might have some issues, or maybe you can think about it in whatever way you need to, if you need to think it out, or if you need to write it down. Maybe do a pros and cons list, like, okay, taking this advice or taking this help, pros, I'll improve school, I'll be happier, I'll graduate, I'll have lots of nice monies, I'll have a good career. Like, cons, people at the school might think I'm weird. Like, I know that sounds like dumb, really. Like, write down the pro and cons, and if you can think of more cons than pros for taking advice or taking help from people, I mean, okay, I'll have to see it to believe it. And that's actually what I did. I was kind of like thinking about it. I was like, okay, what are the pros to you know of it? And so if that helps you, because if you're very logical and you're like, okay, this is what's bad, this is what good. And I think even if you're creative, you can kind of understand, like, yeah, this is like it. And um also,
Dylan.
one thing I'm learning is try not to be afraid of failure. I still am working on that, but um what is this one story? Okay, do you know WD-40?
Is that a band?
No.
Then no.
Okay, it's a how would I put it? It's like a spray that you can use to loosen metals and stuff. Um and it is pretty like top class for like what it does. Um and it's a staple in mine, and I know a lot of other people's households, especially if you know anyone who's a mechanic or anything, just ask them about WD-40. And it's called 40 because that's how many tries it took. The original one was just WD. I can't remember what it stands for. But it took him 40 tries um, until he succeeded, and now he's probably sitting in or dead. I don't know how old it is, but he was very, very rich from it, and he failed 39 times. um, and or like, if you were a kid, and when you were a kid, did you just jump on a bicycle and like start doing tricks and stuff? I doubt it. If you did, that is incredible. Good for you. But I guarantee that you had to learn how to pedal first, and you had to learn how to not fall on your butt first. Same idea. Life is like a bicycle.
Dylan, I love both of those analogies so much. I'd never heard of the WD-40 story. Obviously, I asked if it was a band. I love that so much though. That's That's such a great
It's
example.
sticky.
And
So,
yeah, Dylan, I want to highlight like one of the reasons well, there's a lot of reasons, but I was so happy when you agreed to share your story because I think you're just you embody, what it is that what is possible essentially. That just because school is hard, just because there's struggle or stress or pain, it doesn't mean it can't change. And I think you literally have lived that transition to now. Well, Dylan, how do you feel now about school?
um, challenging but possible.
Challenging but possible. Would you say you're in a happier place? Is that a happier place for you?
Definitely. I think the last, I don't know, half a year, whatever, has been beneficial, and um, I think Como is definitely being a big part of that. I started using a calendar, like I know that sounds so dumb, but like I was so unorganized, and I was very like, I hate calendars. I'm just naturally a very like go with the flow. Like my mom, we were going somewhere in BC, and she was like, but I don't know really where we're going. We might end up in Alaska. And my first reaction was, good thing I brought warm clothes. Like, so I'm very like go with the flow. So like an idea of a calendar was very like and like very actually even stressful for me. But starting using it, I'm like, you know what? It's a little helpful. I only use it probably every day.
Well,
And
I love
um yeah. So yeah, don't be super stubborn, and try new things. And especially if you are not succeeding, and if you're not succeeding, someone's like, well, try this, and you're like, no, then well then you, you know you're not succeeding for a reason. You're not incapable, you're not dumb, you're not stupid, you're not whatever you have heard or called yourself, or someone called you, or whatever. You're just whatever's going on isn't working for you. So find what does, and be willing to try new things.
Yeah. Dylan, that's the I think the best advice I've ever heard. Try new things, give it a go. You never know what's possible. I love that word that you used. And Dylan, on
Yeah,
that note, I'm going to thank you so much for again coming on, sharing your story,
it
being
was a
so
pleasure.
open. Yeah, well, thank
Yeah,
you.
it
It
was a
was my
really
pleasure.
yeah.
Dylan, really
Sorry if I got a little emotional.
no,
I tried
not
not to.
Dylan, not at all. I think again, I really applaud your willingness to share the story. And I know like I can think of so many of our families and our teens who are really, you could be changing some lives here with what you were willing to share. So a very heartfelt thank you.
Yeah.
And everybody listening, um, Dylan, like we said, Dylan is just a perfect example of somebody who, I mean, the challenges that Dylan shared are immense. He overcame them with, honestly, Dylan, just incredible persistence and thoughtfulness and ongoing, just your self-awareness, even with, I'm still struggling with confidence and I'm struggling with these things. But the fact that now you're looking at a place where things are challenging but possible is just incredible. So it's been an honor to be a part of your journey. I can't wait for what's next. Looking ahead, maybe we'll do a part two, 6 months from now.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that would be good. All right, you guys, that is it for us today. Dylan, thank you once again. Everybody else, we'll catch you on our next episode. Bye.